My name is Lily Hart, and the night I woke up in the hospital was the night everything I thought I knew about love shattered. The bright white lights above me blurred into halos, my head pounding as the memory of what had happened returned in fragments. Laughter, music, an argument, then darkness. When I asked for my husband, the nurse looked at me gently and said, "He's not here." That was the moment I realized I was truly alone. Ethan and I had been married for 6 years. We weren't perfect, but I believed we had something real. He was the calm to my chaos, patient, composed, the kind of man who never raised his voice. I used to joke that he could survive a storm without getting his hair wet. But somewhere along the way, the quiet between us turned into distance. He worked late, traveled more, and when he was home, he was always on his phone. I told myself it was just stress, that all marriages had seasons of silence. I didn't want to see the truth, that he was already halfway out the door. It all came undone at a friend's anniversary party. The room was filled with music, chatter, and champagne, but Ethan and I were miles apart even as we stood side by side. I noticed how his attention kept drifting, not to the stage or the guests, but to someone else. Her name was Claire, one of my friends, though in hindsight, that word feels like a lie. They spoke quietly, laughed too easily, and each time I caught Ethan's eyes, he looked away. My stomach twisted, but I kept smiling, pretending not to notice. Pretending was easier than confronting. Later that night, I couldn't do it anymore. I waited until we got home, then asked him straight out, "Are you seeing her?" He froze, then sighed. Not guilty, not panicked, just tired. "Lily, don't start tonight." That was all I needed to hear. Because when someone doesn't even bother to deny it, you already have your answer. The fight that followed wasn't loud or dramatic. It was heartbreak in slow motion. Words were exchanged, sharp, cutting ones I can barely remember. Then he grabbed his jacket and said, "I need air." He didn't come back. I remember collapsing onto the floor, my body shaking, my heart numb. I must have fallen asleep crying because the next thing I knew, I was in the hospital, tubes in my arm, the faint beep of machines keeping rhythm with my broken breath. The nurse told me I'd been found unconscious in my kitchen. Dehydration, exhaustion. My body had simply shut down. When I asked if Ethan had been there, she hesitated before saying softly, "No one's come by." That hurt more than the 4-needle in my skin. Not a call, not a message, just absence. The doctor discharged me 2 days later. I went home to an empty house, his clothes gone, his drawer half open like a wound that couldn't close. On the table was a single envelope. Inside was a note. "I'm sorry, Lily. I can't do this anymore. You deserve someone who can love you the way you need." No signature. No explanation. Just cowardice dressed as kindness. For weeks, I drifted through days like a ghost. People said, "You're strong," but I didn't feel strong. I felt hollow. I'd go to work, smile through meetings, and come home to silence so heavy it felt like a physical weight. Every corner of the house carried his memory, his coffee mug, his favorite chair, the dent his pillow left on the bed. But healing is a strange thing. It doesn't arrive all at once. It sneaks in quietly, like sunlight through a cracked curtain. One morning, I woke up and realized I hadn't cried the night before. I made breakfast just for me. I even laughed, a small awkward laugh at a silly video online, but it felt real. That's when I understood something. Ethan's leaving didn't destroy me. It just forced me to rebuild. A few months later, I ran into Claire at a grocery store. She looked uncomfortable, avoiding my eyes, a ring glinting faintly on her finger. "Lily, she started, but I stopped her. "It's fine," I said quietly. "You don't owe me an apology. He made his choice, and now I'm making mine." She looked confused. "What choice?" "To stop looking backward." I walked away without another word. For the first time, I didn't feel like the victim of betrayal. I felt like the survivor of it. Now, a year has passed since that night. I live in a smaller apartment with big windows and plants that I somehow managed to keep alive. I paint again, something I hadn't done since college. And every morning, when the sun hits the walls just right, I think about how pain doesn't always come to break us. Sometimes it comes to rebuild what we forgot we had, our strength, our voice, our worth. Sometimes I still wonder where Ethan is, if he's happy, if he ever thinks of me. But I don't dwell on it. Because the truth is, I found something he never could, peace. The hospital, that cold room where I woke up alone, used to symbolize my lowest moment. But now I see it differently. It wasn't where I was abandoned. It was where I was reborn, where I finally realized that the only person who truly needed to come back for me was me. So yes, I lost my husband that night. But I found something far greater. My freedom, my clarity, and the strength to never settle for half a love again.